Hey Urban Spinsters, it is Sadia Sanders coming to you once again with another YouTube video from LA traffic. It is drive time. On my way home from work. I am going to be cooking when I get home, so I said, you know what, let me hop on real quick and let you guys know what's going down. So hopefully you have been able to watch AJ and the Queen in addition to A Fall from Grace on Netflix. Fall from Grace, Tyler Perry movie. AJ and the Queen is more episodic. I forget how many episodes there are, but both have a similar theme in that they're middle-aged people. RuPaul plays the Queen. Robert is his name in the movie, and Crystal Fox plays Grace. Both middle-aged people that fall for younger men, and the younger men take advantage of them financially. So with Robert is this young, hot Latin guy who he's only been dating for 7 months, and he runs up a business credit card of Robert's because Robert is about to open up a drag club. He's a drag performer, has been saving, sacrificing for years, and wants to open up this club. So because of the financial hardship, he then has to go on a kind of self-made tour to just survive, to get some of his money back. So he's going cross country, performing at all these different little drag spots, shows, and etc. And AJ is this little girl who looks like a boy. Now I could tell it was a little girl from the get-go, but you know, they act all shocked when they find out it's a little girl. She has a drug-addicted mother, and the mother in and out of jail. She's prostituting, you know, crackish behavior. And AJ is left alone, goes to the foster care system. I guess she runs away from the foster home or whatever. And they lived in Robert's building. So AJ is stealing from every damn body, conning, trying to survive as a child by herself with no mother. And Robert has a RV, like a camper, that he uses to travel to his gigs. So she stows away inside of the RV because she's thinking, in her little childlike mind, that she's going to make Robert take her to her grandfather's house in Texas. Her mother has always told her about some man named Pop Pop, who is her grandfather, who she's never met. But, you know, her mother had fabricated this story her whole life, and she had been, every birthday, giving her these birthday cards from Pop Pop at an address in Texas. So, if you know anything about kids who live in the foster care system, they always have some type of bag or something that has belongings that are theirs, that they are very protective over. They don't want anybody touching them, don't move them, nothing. That's theirs, because really those are the only little things that they have that are theirs when you're being shuffled from place to place. So she keeps these cards really close, and that's her fantasy, is that she's going to live with Pop Pop because her mom is just out there in the streets. Now with Robert's guy friend or boyfriend who stole his money, there becomes like this chase. So Robert is doing these gigs just to survive and get some of his money back. But the boyfriend is chasing him along with this accomplice, this woman who was doing like illegal injections or whatever of all these drag queens, because Robert has called the police on the boyfriend. And so the boyfriend's pissed that he got the police involved, so he's trying to kill Robert, I guess, maybe before he gets prosecuted. I don't know. So a good character in AJ and the Queen is Robert's best friend, and he's blind from diabetes. So he's a trip. He really steals the show with all his little antics and behaviors and stuff. But it's a good show. And sorry about this light, y'all, but the sun is going down. So as soon as I move, maybe it'll get better. But it's a good show. With A Fall from Grace, she meets this guy who claims he's a photographer, and she does take it very slow with him, I must say. She does not give him access to her money. He steals it, but he has the opportunity to do that because he's in her space. So you gotta watch who's in your space. And because both of these movies, they're different, and that one is more comical than drama and the other one is suspenseful, the theme is the same. Young guy, older person takes their money, and it's just reality. As the older we get, we are more of a target, especially when you're a single woman who has established themselves. A Fall from Grace, her home was paid off, she had a good job, she was able to take care of herself. She wasn't wealthy, but she was, I'd say, comfortable. Her husband and she had divorced. He had cheated on her, so she had a lot of emotional baggage. And the younger dude preyed on that. Now, he got to know more and more about her the more time they spent together. But all of this was a setup. In both cases, AJ and the Queen, the guy, that was a con, it was a setup. Fall from Grace, he had help in knowing who she was and how to meet her and get to her. It was a setup. Now, I won't give all of it away because you may not have seen it. But go watch definitely A Fall from Grace, because it's just, that hour and some change. AJ and the Queen is a series, so you're going to have to keep watching it because it keeps building as this chase goes on. The little girl, AJ, is going to get on your goddamn nerves and make you want to sock her in the mouth for most of it. So just be ready for that, because my nerves were bad listening to her. She's very rude and nasty. And she has a lisp, so that doesn't help. But you got to be careful about who you let in your space. Do not jump into these relationships so quickly because someone is saying the right things or doing the things that you think show that they care about you. A lot of times people who are masters at manipulation and conning people, they know what to say, they know what to do, and they're going to do anything that they think they have to in order to get what they want out of you. Period. That's even, if they're not a master con artist, if that's not what they do for a living, but they're manipulators, they'll say whatever they need to say. They'll cook, they'll clean, they'll send you flowers every week. They'll do all the shit they think they need to do in order to get close enough to get what they want. Some people need a place to stay. Some people need some money. Some people want to go big and steal your identity, which is what happened in Grace's case. The dude was nice and sweet until he got in that house and they got married, and he turned on her like that. There's a meme going around that shows scenes from the movie, and one scene is him bringing her breakfast in bed. This is like right after they were married. And then the other scene is him with his feet up in the bed smoking a cigarette, and he was talking to her crazy. So the meme is, okay, this is the nice guy before your tax return comes, and then here's the asshole after your tax return comes. So that pretty much summed up Fall from Grace. But it was low budget. I was surprised. As Tyler Perry movies, the cinematography usually looks a lot better. The sets look a lot better. This one was kind of like, the acting by some of the actors was just meh. I mean, Crystal Fox is always good. I've been watching Crystal Fox since Heat of the Night, and I still watch In the Heat of the Night now. So I love her. Brisha Webb was good. I've never seen her in a dramatic role. I've always seen her in comedic roles. So she was good. Felicia Rashad, of course, and Cicely Tyson. Everybody else, it was just whatever. The makeup, the wigs, I was like, how much money did y'all really put into this movie? But the story is good, and that's what gets you with Tyler Perry movies. The plot is always good. The execution is what tends to need work. But other than that, I would recommend it. It's worth your time if you want to be entertained. So going back to, the whole theme of it and being taken advantage of, when you haven't been in a relationship for a long time, or you haven't healed from emotional baggage, you are more susceptible for someone to have the opportunity to do this type of thing to you, even if it's not to that degree. If you are not on your guard, and that's not to say you have to be mean or nasty, but you have to guard your heart. And when you have these little red flags pop up, you can't ignore them. With the fall from grace, he was using someone else's identity when he met her. He was claiming his name was Shannon something. Shannon was actually a woman whose identity he had taken, whose basically her life he had taken. He had become this photographer, which he wasn't. Shannon was the photographer, the artist. So, and she knew that name didn't sound right. When she met him at this little art gallery or whatever, they were just chit-chatting, and she was staring at this photograph that was in the gallery, and they got to talking, and she, Grace, was referring to the artist or the photographer as she because of the name Shannon. And he said, well, how do you know that's a woman? She said, well, Shannon is a woman's name. That's not a man's name. And then he said, well, I'm Shannon. And she's like, oh, she felt silly, and they got to talking, and it went on from there. Well, that is a woman's name. And she just kind of blew it off because he claimed that's who he was. And typically we don't question people when they say, this is my name. I mean, what are you going to do? Argue back and forth with them? If they're professional con artists, they will have some type of identification with it on there. But sometimes they don't, and they'll say, well, I can show you my ID, in the hopes that you're going to say, oh, no, that's okay, out of embarrassment. And then you just let it go and you drop it. Don't drop stuff like that. Even if you don't force them to show you proof, keep that in the back of your mind always, that something didn't seem right with this. Because it's usually those little things that turn into bigger things. What else did I want to say about that? Oh, well, the actors, Tyler Perry's movie, he tends to recycle people. Like Crystal Fox is on Have and Have Nots. The guy who plays Shannon, the con man, he was in Nobody's Fool with Tika Sumpter and Whoopi Goldberg and Tiffany Haddish. So he tends to recycle people. His wig wasn't that bad. Tyler Perry's wig, because of course he's in the movie, his was like, that makeup wasn't right and that wig wasn't right. And because I've seen Nobody's Fool, I was able to recognize the guy that played in A Fall from Grace. Child, I'm driving through the hood, and these people are sitting up here arguing. These crackheads, child. Oh my goodness. Anyway, but check it out. Let me know what you thought about the movie. And if you have been in a situation where someone has taken advantage of you, this topic is very, I won't say popular, but it's very prevalent with middle-aged women specifically, where these men just go from woman to woman. They might even go through marrying multiple women in order to get their money, and they just go to the next one, run their credit up, jack their lives up, and it's hard for the women to sue them because they're married. And there are a lot of states that are community property states. California is one of them. So your spouse's debts become your debts. So you got to be careful about that kind of stuff. If you own a home prior to you getting married to someone, you may not want to add that man's name on the deed to your house. You may want to protect yourself and and record your home in a trust, or as a single woman who has never been married. This is prior, of course, to you being married. You bought this property without this person. So you got to think of those things to protect yourself. Tamron Hall, her talk show, she just had 2 women on that something similar happened to. So be careful out there. This week on my podcast, I have an aging expert who is talking about how to form a partnership with your aging parent. Because as adult children, we kind of have to step in and help our parents. And it would be better if we had a plan for how they want to live out the rest of their days, not just what's going to happen when they die. You know, their health issues that they may have. How are they going to deal with any loss of income? You got to kind of create a plan. But when you're dealing with a parent-child relationship, a lot of times they see us as kids no matter how old we get, and they become very resistant. Rhonda Caudell is the aging expert that I interviewed, so make sure that you check out the podcast. It can be heard on Apple Podcasts. What the hell? Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Anchor. Anchor is what I record my podcast on, and it's a free way for you to start your podcast if you have been thinking about doing that. You don't need any equipment, just your phone, just talking to the app. And you can interview people by using the chat feature if they also have an Anchor profile, and if not, you can just call that person on another line and have them on speaker, or you can get a microphone, a standalone mic, and pre-record your episode on your laptop or something through the mic, and then upload it, because Anchor does have a website available for you to upload audio as well, and then you can edit it and add music or whatever you want to do to it. So it's a really good way to get started with the podcast, and you don't have a lot of money. My sweatshirts are available. My Never Settle sweatshirts are on Teespring. I will put the link in the description below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like and share, so that I can begin to monetize and have more features available for you. With Teespring, they integrate with YouTube, meaning you can be watching a video, click on the shirt link, and be shopping and watching the video at the same time. When you're not monetized, you don't have the option for those type of features. So please subscribe, like, and share. And as always, you can reach me on all social media at UrbanSpinsterXO, website urbanspinster.com. I will talk to you soon. You have a good one, and be safe out there.